Everybody says your body is made in the kitchen, which I can get with, but I personally feel like my body is made in the gym.
This is the Michael Hearn Show, guys, and we are a family of health. You know, Mike, he does believe in longevity. He's been preaching that forever. How is that start? How is health start? You have to do your blood work. So let's make sure that we get that done. That is your first step. The blood work, it will just show you guys if you're healthy or not. If you're healthy, guess what? That's great. But if you're not, you actually have the chance to take action and take care of it. From the fitness world to the WWE to the Hall of Famer and to the Titan Castle, I am so excited for her to sit down here with us today. Watch this interview, guys. I'm telling you, this is going to be good. Women power.
I always wondered why you didn't get into wrestling.
92, I met with him. Shane flew out, 91, flew out and met with me, had dinner. And then they flew me out and I sat down with Vince in 92. And we were signing the deal and everything. And then they got into a fight with Gladiators because I was on the original Gladiators. And they're like, you can't do both. And I was like, there's only 6 of us on Gladiators. There's a roster on WWE. And I'd also have to go down to, I think it was Atlanta or something, for 6 months, and then it's still not guaranteed and stuff. And I'm already on Gladiators on TV, and I'm like, at this age, I was too young.
You made the good choice. Like your body is probably way better.
I talked about that. I talked to, like, because I know the same year they were going to sign me, they did sign Billy Gunn.
Oh, that was the same year?
Same year. So it's like crazy. It was both of us.
Farts.
Two old dudes.
Billy Gunn looks absolutely amazing.
He does.
Wow. I mean, I see him with his sons, and it's like he's still like this badass.
Sons are 20, but he looks better than the 20-year-olds.
That's a testament to
So crazy.
sticking with it, consistency, right?
I always thought he was so much smaller because he was proportionate. But you remember those days. Because 99, when you were there, you know, the start of when you were there. What year was the first year you were there?
99.
99. So you remember the size of those guys?
Huge.
They were just,
Huge.
they were walking superheroes. And
It was about size, not like Vince just wanted big.
But it wasn't just size in the sense of TV size. It was size on, if you walk down the sidewalk, you'd go, that's a WWE superstar. And I love that about that. That's what Vince wanted. These guys and the girls that were like, you're pretty on TV, but are you in person? And obviously you are. But he was getting these walking superheroes and then putting them on TV. And then I would look at them and they all so big monsters. I was like, oh, I'm about the same size. And then I realized I meet Billy and I'm like, he's much bigger than I am.
He is not, is he?
He is. He's a
huge.
Monster. Taller, thicker, just a bigger person.
Yeah.
And it's like a Big Show. I mean, there's nobody. I mean, it's like that's a different animal completely.
Yeah. When I met Big Show at Gold's, like the first thing he said was, "Feel how big my finger is." Oh, really?
Banana hands. That was
That's the way you're.
When I met Big Show, I came. I went to New York. They had a wrestling match there, and Natty. She came to my restaurant and she said, "You coming to the show tonight?" So I went there, and I walk in, and then I see Big Show's face, just like, and then and I was like, "Why is he looking at me like that?" He goes, "You look just like my wife. You just scared the shit out of me." And I was like,
scared the shit. He's so scared of her.
He goes, "She's Greek, and you look just like her. I thought she just walked in." I was like, "Oh my God, you're so big, you get scared." And he showed me pictures of her, and we have, you know.
You guys are very similar.
Yeah.
You know,
and she's
dark
broad and
pictures.
tall.
Yeah. It's so funny.
Hilarious.
His face.
Before you started WWE, you were already doing fitness, health and fitness.
Yeah.
You're already doing magazines, and you're already becoming, or already were a name. Did that help WWE?
Yeah, so I first entered in WCW, and really I I saw all the girls in the fitness magazines. Amy Fadley, I had her picture on my walls.
Yeah, Amy.
Everywhere. I
Yeah.
wanted to be like Amy Fadley.
Wow.
And I went from being anorexic in high school to in college, I kind of started to become bulimic. I started to gain weight, and so I was like a little overweight. And then I started pasting the pictures of Amy Fadley on the wall, and that's what got me into training, because I'd follow their training schedules that they would put in the magazines. And then after lifting, and I'd see like a tiny little tricep muscle, I'm like, shit, I can like change my body. So then I signed myself up for the Miss Galaxy competition. It was like
Galaxy was...
the obstacle course.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought, well, I'm not a gymnast, but I wanted to have a goal, right? So 8 months out, did the diet, like at least I had the thing to shoot for. And I was like, I felt like these are my peeps. Like everybody loves fitness like I do. You know, I didn't place very well, but it kind of gave me the bug. And from that first competition, I met a couple of photographers, like pair.
Uh-huh.
And then I got like one picture in like muscular development. And that was like it. That I was like, I want to be in all the fitness magazines. And it just kind of like went, I think I did 4 more fitness competitions, did well in the other ones. And they all led to more magazines and the magazine covers. And I didn't know what I wanted to do with that because the money wasn't great, but I knew the notoriety would help.
What year was this?
98 is when I first started in the magazines. And then somehow, okay, so then I moved down to LA. And I was like, I'll work at the Mecca, like I'm gonna meet all these people, which totally it all worked, right? Like I was getting all the connections, doing all the magazine shoots. And then I went to a WCW wrestling show with my then boyfriend, who was a huge wrestling fan, and Rich Minzer.
Good old Rich.
Good old Rich.
Yeah, that Rich.
He hates me now, by the way. But he was like, he's such a wrestling fan, right? So he was really, we were in these like way up in the rafters. He came and got us middle of the show and said, you guys want to go backstage and meet the wrestlers? And I didn't know who any of them were, but I was taking pictures with like Bill Goldberg and some people. And my boyfriend was freaking out. And then I met Kevin Nash, and he was like, I saw you in a green bikini in a magazine, and we have this storyline idea. Would you be interested in, doing it? It was working with Ric Flair, and it was just like acting segments. And so I said yeah, and it was like $5,000 a day. It was like the easiest money. I was broke, so broke, by the way, like could barely get groceries. Well, and it just snowballed so fast. My popularity snowballed so fast, and it was kind of like I never really wanted to be a wrestler, but this gig came to me, and I need to roll with it.
What's cool too is your timing. You got such incredible guys, because then we started on Battle Dome, and we came over to WCW and started doing gigs back and forth, and that's I already knew Kevin and those guys, but that was really the bonding moment with like Kevin Nash, who's like the coolest cat there is, and Ric Flair. That must have been incredible, because you went from ground zero to the greatest in history, and these guys are still legends today. And to mostly Kevin Nash going, I got an idea. You come over here, you got this, you're gonna come out and make 5 Gs. What do you think? And that must have been just amazing to look back, not just the moment, but to look back on, wow, I was there when it was it.
Yes, but you don't know that in the midst of it. In the midst of it, all I knew was fitness. I didn't know anything about wrestling. We didn't even get cable where I grew up in Idaho. Like, I never watched it, which was like not good for me. It was, in a way, it was good because I wasn't as nervous, but I was also super nervous because I didn't know. And these guys are larger than life. It's like a locker room in the back,
Yeah.
And then I roll in, and so I had actually, Rich Minzer had hooked me up with Hulk Hogan's agent. So I had a really good agent that was like, and he had me, roll up in a limousine. I had so much heat with the wrestlers, but I didn't know. I was just like, this is a great gig. He's getting me the best deal,
Right.
he can. And so there was definitely a learning curve of like, when you're in that business, you have to understand, like, there's an etiquette. You got to shake everyone's hand. You're new. You're the girl that's making money now, walking through the halls. You just showed up in a limousine. Like, but I was so shy that was like the last thing that I wanted to do. I just wanted to run to the locker room and hide.
That keeps you level-headed, though.
25? Yeah, it keeps...
It keeps you level-headed in that sense. And then I do like that you threw out that little, the shake the hand and stuff. And I remember those days, and I know I'm an old school guy, but I liked how they did have that protocol, especially WCW, because that was where I was really fed into, and all those guys and how they were. Just the respect between each other. It was such a bond, because, again, with wrestling, you're trusting the other person to not end your career. And so it's such a respectful thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a tough thing, though, but it's so cool that you got to go in there, and then with Hulk Hogan and his agent set you up in the right way. Man, that's a huge platform for somebody that made the move, because I think back in those days, everybody had to get to California to really get the connections. With social media today, you don't have to do that as much. What's the good and bad on that?
Well, I think.
Or do you think there's good or bad on that?
Well, there's both for sure. I think the good is that anybody that has a dream and they're creative and like can find a niche has an opportunity to like really build something cool for themselves. It gives everybody kind of almost a fair shot, maybe not fair, but before it was just like if you're the lucky one. Maybe if you were on the casting couch, maybe if this person likes you, like there's still a lot of that. Yeah. And I love that everyone can have an opportunity now, but the downside is that it can be so toxic. The ego is out of control. I literally yesterday was having lunch with a girlfriend at the Mayborn, and there were two girls at the table behind me, and I couldn't stop staring at them because they had set up their tripod. They were like selfies the entire hour I was there. And I'm like, this world is like out of control.
Could you imagine that 20 years ago? That would have been just like, what movie? Could you imagine just jumping forward from 1999 to right now? It's like the Michael J. Fox movie, Back to the Future. It's like, wow, this is completely weird to me.
It is. Well, even I remember when Kim Kardashian first started doing her selfies, and thinking like, gosh, that seems so like
cringe,
right? But we all do it. Like I've done it. I've definitely like.
I still don't know how to take a selfie.
Well, good for you. Thank God. You need to.
I'm like, oh my God, who's that? No.
Is that what it looked like?
Yeah. No, thank you.
What is some of that stuff that you learned? And then I want to jump back to something you just kind of ran over real quickly about eating disorders or possible eating disorders when you were younger, and how fitness pulled you or helped you out of that. I want to jump into that, but what do you think that you learned, especially at that time, that maybe these kids can't learn because you were in the trenches from the get-go? I mean, that's an amazing thing that Kevin Nash walked up to you, but he saw you in the magazines, you accomplished that, he saw that and was impressed and said, this is who I want to do this next thing. Mm-hmm. What can these guys do to, I guess, in a way, learn what you learned being around those incredible people? Because it's a tougher thing now to be in that.
Which guys are you talking about? The fitness or wrestler?
No, I think the wrestlers were more impressive.
Oh, uh-huh.
To me, because the fitness people were training and they were pushing for their dreams.
Yeah.
But it was the tunnel vision on just the one aspect where these guys were putting in the work and the training. Bodybuilders, I always felt that bodybuilders just lifted, or powerlifters just lifted, and then they competed once. Where I was more impressed with the guy that could lift, travel, and get on stage and get back in the gym the next day. It's like he's actually doing something with his creation, much more than the one show a year.
Yeah.
No disrespect to the one show a year, but I got out of that quickly when I realized there's more to it.
Well, it's not realistic, and I've always thought, like, as much as I can admire all of that hard work, it's still like supposed to be the health and fitness industry, and for the average person, like that's just not doable. And you might look great, for a show, but what about for the rest of the year? Are you bikini ready all year? Isn't that what health and fitness is about?
Yeah, I say it all the time. You want to be a superhero for a day or for a lifetime? And they're just choosing the day, and then the rest of the year it's
Which
ballistic.
is still impressive.
It's impressive, but I wish they would learn earlier on. There's so much more. You made a career out of you being your individual self. That's impressive. Where most people have to be a doctor or a lawyer or create something that's already been there for you. You are the entity. That was impressive at a young age.
I didn't realize though it was kind of one of those things where doors opened and I was receptive. I think a lot of people have like the one-track mind. So anything that comes in the way, it's like you lose opportunity. And I didn't know anything about wrestling, and I was kind of like, I think I want to be an actress, but I don't know, and I'm going to try it out, right? And so I would have totally missed out on an opportunity. And I think a lot of times people need to be more open about what comes their way. That would be the biggest thing.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's the same thing for you.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people they're nervous about taking a chance, or they just feel safe. Okay, I'm just gonna stay with this because I don't know what's gonna happen. But I mean, I'm huge of taking chances. I moved from Romania to America.
So you're like a living example.
I'm from New York to LA, which feels like it's another country. So yeah, but
the fear of failure or looking stupid.
It's
comfort. Could that be? I know that I'm going to train for 12 weeks and compete, and then I can still survive and then do another 12 weeks or a year and compete, where taking the chances on becoming an actress or becoming a wrestler or doing something more with the physique. Because I see some guys online, social media, and I'm like, man, these guys look great. They're strong. They have a great charisma. Why aren't they trying to go do something like that? Why aren't they trying to make that next step into following The Rock or John Cena or something like that? Because it just seems like that's the right thing.
Yeah, I think it's insecurity. Like when you start thinking about all of those other opportunities, you're kind of like not in full control. Like the bodybuilding thing, you're in full control. I mean, you got the judges obviously, but there's a lot of other factors that come in when you try to get gigs. You know.
Yeah. There's a lot more no's in that field than there is in bodybuilding. Oh, yeah. In bodybuilding, you kind of govern yourself and create your own art piece, but in wrestling, you're governed 100%.
And even and what I always found fascinating was like in the WWE, Vince, like if Vince doesn't like you, obviously, it's going to be hard, but they also have no choice but to listen to who the crowd decides they like. That's why the the house shows are so important, because when you have those house shows, you can build characters, you can test out feuds, and you can see who's getting over. And then there's kind of no denying if someone's on a house show 3 days a week and they're over with the crowd, like you have no choice but to put them on TV. And I could see the product suffered during COVID because of that, because they weren't able to do those house shows and test out. Oh,
yeah. That's huge. Mm-hmm. Man, live. So let's jump back, because I think this is really important. What caused the health and fitness? What was the final draw that says, I need to start eating in a different way, I need to start training with weights? Outside of Amy Fodley, who's incredible.
She's amazing.
Well, when I was anorexic, I would leave school and do the Stairmaster 2 hours a day. I was working out a lot, but not really touching weights. And then what happened was...
So how was the eating at that time?
I would eat like an apple and broccoli a day. I weighed 116. Right now I weigh like 150. So that's... So what happened was, if I could have kept that up, I probably would have kept it up longer. But then I got to the point where I wanted to eat. I had so during college I would eat food and spit it out, and then started drinking, and the drinking added weight, and I couldn't, my old methods of 2 hours of cardio weren't working
anymore.
And then at the gym at Gold's in Boise, I started to realize and open up that wow, that girl actually doesn't look like a man, and I would love to have her body, and she's lifting heavy, right? So I tested the waters, and then I think it was this creation that I personally had of just discovering that being consistent, how you can change. I mean, I'm serious. When I saw like that first little line, it was like.
You still remember it today?
I still remember. I was like, holy shit, this works.
Could you sneak up on me? Wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
What was, if you don't mind, what happened that caused you to be anorexic in school, in high school and stuff? What was the
you just
trigger?
didn't like eating?
I just always like. I remember when I was a kid, the girl next door to us, my best friend, was super skinny, and I was always like, they were like, oh, Torrie's the thick one. But I remember in 5th grade, we went away for Christmas break and came back, and my grandma had owned this business that did like catering, and I had eaten a lot of like the desserts, and I'd gained weight. And when I came back to school, the boys were like, started calling me fatso at 5th grade.
Right.
And so you can see where that like created this need. And it's still today, like, I want to be in shape, right? And then I met with a modeling agency in, I think it was like 9th grade, and the lady said, can you lose 10 pounds? And I took it to another level. Because I thought that was my way out. You know, I'm in a small town in Idaho, this modeling agency in Boise, Idaho. You know, I'm thinking like my only way out of this place is like if I lose weight and somehow get a modeling gig and I can leave.
And that was the start of it.
That was the start of it. And honestly, in college, what ended up happening is I gained the weight. There was a guy that I had gone on a couple dates with who was like, his mom was the modeling agency, but I went on a couple dates with him when I was anorexic. Then I ran into him in a bar, and I overheard him say, whoa, she looks horrible. I can't believe that's the same person. And I went home and I cried, and I was like, this is not happening. That's when everything changed.
So I always say that I'm good with a chip on the shoulder if you can use it in the right way. I know a lot of people say, no, the past, let it go and move on. And it's like, well, for me, the chip has actually fueled me. And you were talking about 5th grade, and I remember those times because I grew up in special ed. And so I was I couldn't read and write kid. And so I love that chip on the shoulder, and I carry it with me even today, decades later. But I think if you use any kind of chip that happens in your life, for me,
yeah,
it could move you in the right direction. And there's a couple of conversations you still remember clearly today. Mm-hmm. The moment it happened, how you felt, and the after effects.
Isn't that incredible?
It stays with you, right?
It really
You
does.
know,
How did you use it in the right way, though?
I think it's really funny because you get people that get beaten down by that, right?
Oh, yeah.
They're just like, they give up.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's just, there are certain people that understand that you got to dig deep. And I think we all have the capacity to dig deep and use it as fuel. Mm-hmm. But we can also go the victim route and just like, oh, life sucks, that sucks for me, yada, yada. But you know, when I first got my first shoot with Pere Bernal, I remember flying down here, went back, and there was a woman at my gym who was like extremely fit. Like she'd been lifting for years. Like she was a badass. And she had told somebody that I knew that someone else deserved
the shoot
because she was more fit than I was, right? And I used that for fuel for years. I love when people tell me that I can't or that I'm not good enough. It's just,
it makes you grind harder.
It's just, yeah.
It's fun though, because I love that, because I when I first got in the mags, 87, and I started as a teenager, I was in the magazines for Weeder and stuff, and so I'd hear those kind of comments, and I'm like, don't worry guys, you can't outlast me. And so it's cool to see, geez, from the 80s, now we're in 2022, 5 decades later kind of attitude, that we're still here, we're still doing our thing.
You're like, where are you guys now? Where's everybody at?
Yeah, I guess she did deserve the cover, right? Because it was that one cover or the one shoot that would have changed life. That's the only reason you continued forward and she didn't, which isn't true.
Yeah.
Even if you didn't get that, and again, you jumped in with somebody that you didn't know was one of the greatest in the world. Again, Per Bernal doesn't shoot with... Mm-mm. He shoots with the If he doesn't see it, and that's before the shoot, if he doesn't see that he wants to shoot you, he don't shoot you. And he's so good at that level. So it's, again, you're working with the best, but it's cool that you heard something like that. And I don't know why that would be a bad thing. Mostly today, social media keeps going, let's find that safe spot. And I'm like, absolutely not. I want my son in that.
Yeah.
Or as the society calls it today, toxic. I want him getting picked on. I want him being said and challenged. I don't want him coddled.
Right.
So
well,
what would you say?
You have two opposite ends now. You
Yeah.
got everybody that you can't hurt anyone's feelings, and then on the opposite side, you got people that are like just horrible human beings trying to tear everyone down. There's
which it doesn't make sense to me. Like I don't like
But
if I don't know a person, I can't talk about that person. Like to me, it doesn't make any sense.
But you know,
It's so
like there's
crazy.
something I've learned over the years of like just self-development, and I never let anything hurt my feelings when people say. I mean, it 100% only says where you're at in your own life and how you feel on the inside.
Right.
Whatever you're spewing about, God, who knows? It doesn't even have to be about me. If you're going to start talking shit about somebody, that only says how jealous you are of that person and how unhappy you are.
How did you create that? How did you create that that strength? Because there was a time that those things did hurt you for a moment, but you got to, I guess, scar tissue, as I guess you would say. People continuously going, you don't deserve this, don't deserve. And at some point, you're just going to go, hey, everybody's going to say it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to be like, all right, nonchalant, move on, keep succeeding. How did you do it? How did you get to the point where you are now today where that stuff doesn't bug you?
Well, I think part of it is building your confidence, and you build your confidence by doing things that scare you and succeeding and learning and growing. Things still do affect me some, right? When I was inducted into the Hall of Fame, a lot of people were like, she doesn't deserve it, you know, she's not a wrestler like the girls now. But times were so different, right? And it was like, in a way it bothered me, but in a way I just want to be like, you guys, when did you ever wrestle, right?
Exactly.
So
I got to stop you because it's weird because
Yeah.
Trish Stratus, these other ones, that opened up a whole new world to wrestling that allowed so many girls today to continue to live their dreams and stuff. So it makes no sense that you were in the forefront of this.
But people now will watch wrestling and see what women are doing, and they're like, ugh, you did that? You were in a bikini match? Like, things evolved. That would have never happened in my... we had 5 minutes, and they cut it down as soon as we walked through the curtain. It was like, that's not what it was about.
Right.
But, I think that just building that confidence, which comes from getting beat down, thinking that you can't survive, I can't tell you how many things I've done and failed at, and relationships that failed massively, where I didn't think I could pick myself up. All of those times built this person that came back and was like, oh, you know what? I got this. It doesn't matter what these people say.
Yeah, I feel like when you go through a hard time, it just makes you stronger.
It does.
Every time, we've had hard times really young. For us in Romania, because we grew up like that. So when I got here, I was already so strong mentally that nothing would have, when I was in school, if somebody would have picked on me, I would have punched him in the face. I would have fought the guy, girl, whatever, and walked away. That's how I grew up, nothing bothered me. But the hard times is what makes us stronger. So I have a couple of girlfriends that go through hard time, and I tell them, this is what is going to make you stronger. This right now. Remember I tell you this because I went through it and I know. And it's so amazing how if something like that would happen again, they would not even bother you. So...
It's, but it's kind of like when you're in it, you just want to punch people in the face when they tell you that. Because it's just kind of like, you can't...
Because it's cliche. I've heard this before.
And just depending on how hard it is, it's just that's not what you want to hear, but also what you need to hear. Because it's so, I look back on some times that I literally, there were some times where I was so low that I would actually drive into the garage and be like, should I leave the car on right now? I obviously didn't, but that low. And I look back on that and kind of have almost like nostalgia for the person that came out of that.
Yeah.
I guess it's one thing that I love about health and fitness. It's not the show, but it's the person that started the 12-week challenge and went through all those things, that didn't cheat, that didn't quit, that did the show and didn't place, got their ass kicked. Doesn't matter. They're a different person at that point. But that's life. Somebody posted something today and I just loved it. He goes, and it is true. It's, Gunnar Peterson. He said, anything and everything you do in a gym, from nutrition to training to your next goal to make yourself a little bit healthier, that you and I believe on, and Mona obviously believes, all those aspects make the outside world easier because you're pushing yourself so hard in here and you're becoming a different person. People think it's, did you win the show? Did you do this? It doesn't matter. It's who you are when you come out of it. And those are the moments that you guys are both talking about.
Yeah.
That you're so low that it's like, it's cool to see the person that came out and you look back and go, good job, kid.
Yeah.
You made it through that.
Well, I know a little bit of low, because we met when I was running the magazine.
Oh, yeah.
I was the editor-in-chief for Muscle and Fitness Hers. And I knew about you, and I'm like, I need to get her in the magazine. So I remember Nicole, I think was my assistant at the time, got in touch, and we shot a workout.
Yes.
Remember that?
Yes.
Yeah, and I just fell in love with you. I thought you were like so different, so amazing. It's when you meet somebody and the energy, and like we stayed close since that.
Yeah, and I couldn't believe you moved out here. You were so New York.
I was. I never thought I was
Still is. And she ruffles feathers out here because she's not that phony kind of LA fake. Want to just, what do you want to hear? She's like, this is how it is.
Yeah.
But the right people appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean,
they do.
What you see is what you get, and I just can't understand some people here. But anyway, that's besides the point.
That's it. They love it though, because that is a rarity. But it's like you guys have both been, here for a while, and you guys are coming out stronger and stronger, and it's cool to see.
And I've never seen you out of shape.
No, I don't. I mean,
No.
I go through my own personal like up and downs where I'm
but it's
not super motivated.
You stay, you stay close to whatever,
Always.
And what's nutrition? Like,
What
let's
is
talk
that
about
nutrition?
Like, what do you eat now? Obviously, you used to eat an apple and broccoli a day.
Yeah.
If we can we talk about the nutrition? Not when you're like motivated.
Yeah.
Not when you're like got a goal. What's the nutrition
like
when it's
off-season.
off season? When you're not motivated, where you're like, I'm just taking time with the main man and all this and enjoying life a little bit. How do you?
My nutrition's actually always the same.
Wow.
Unless I have a shoot, I might bump up the protein a little bit and cut out sugar. But because of my issues with food before, I just will never go back that way. And so I wouldn't even at first, when the intermittent fasting became popular, like it gave me anxiety to think about it because it reminded me of
Right. Yeah.
Which I agree with.
But honestly, I've created such a healthy balance with food that I can have one piece of pizza and be cool.
Right.
So I'm never really thinking about what I can or can't have. Like every day I definitely eat something that I probably shouldn't have, like fries but I just try to go protein heavy with lean protein. And even with pizza, like at home, if I'm making pizza, I just pile protein on it to make it a little bit easier to, you know.
Yeah.
But that's...
So it's the relationship you have with food now. Or have. It's not been just the last couple of weeks. It's been years, decades that you've had a different relationship with food. Where was the mind change? How can you help somebody at home that's fighting that right now?
Yeah.
Because I know that most people think, which is unfortunate, most people think, I have to go train today instead of, I get to go train.
Yeah.
That's such a different thing. It gave me self-tingles on
I
that one
know.
because it's like I wake up at 3 a.m. going, I can't sleep. I want to go train. I get to start my meal plan today. I get it, and that's every day of my whole life, but I've been doing it since I was 9. How did you go through that at a young age and then have that, I can't eat, I got to lose this weight, to the point where you're been for decades now eating this food and in love with food and not a hatred with food, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
How did you do that change mentally?
It actually changed like even when I was in WWE, like it was hard to stay on, right? Like I definitely, we'd fly in and the gym was always the first priority.
Right.
But like there was a period where I wasn't as lean, and I was constantly trying to cut carbs. I remember when I shot Playboy, I liked it only meat. Like I was just trying so hard to lean down, and I would like dream of bagels on doing cardio. Just like that's just so unhealthy. But what switched was when I turned 30, I ran a marathon, and I was training for the marathon, and I lost so much muscle. I lost my ass. I lost a lot, but I could eat whatever I want. And because I was running so much, like during that time, my mentality changed, because when I knew I could have it, then I didn't really want it anymore. And it's almost like it fixed me. I don't run like that anymore, but I know that like
but that mental state portions with you, that mental approach, even though you're not doing running. Well,
if I do this, I get this. But I really don't need this. So if I tone this down a bit, I can have still, and just, you're in charge of the ship. You control the body. The body doesn't control you.
100%. And if I'm not working out for whatever reason, I'm not going to eat like shit. Like I personally, like everybody says, your body is made in the kitchen, which I can get with. But I personally feel like my body is made in the gym. And I watch what I eat. I don't eat like shit. But I know I built my body in the gym with hard work. And if I wasn't working out, there's no way I could eat the way I eat right now.
I think that's incredible, because I always talk about how she trains twice a week, and they're like, no, she does more than that. Or she diets, and it's like, no, she doesn't. But you're both that way. You both get to have this love affair with food. Eat what you want, in reason. But, you guys have got common sense. And then you can train, if you train that week or 2 weeks off, you can still maintain the body. You've adapted to that point where you've controlled it. Yeah. I think that's great. And I don't think people realize you can get there. I think people think, which is weird to me, people think that if you train 6 days a week and always are dieting, that's a healthy person. And I'm like, no.
Right.
You can't. That's not healthy. If you're training 3 days a week and you're on a good nutrition plan and you can maintain what you look like, that's a healthy person. Because if you guys are confused at home, the reason why I say that is because the person that's training 6 days a week and dieting 6 days a week, or even 7, if he stops training, oh my gosh, does that body go crazy. He's trained his body to work a certain way, and now that you pull back, and you guys have both pulled back to be healthier and maintain what you guys have, and if you need to fine tune it, you can fine tune it in just a switch.
Yeah, 100%.
That's the goal. Like if you want to do a photo shoot or whatever that may be, you take a couple of weeks, then you do cardio, then you kind of micromanage your protein and carbs or whatever, and then you get results fast.
We've figured out by having our body and paying attention to it over the years.
Yeah, but right now it's like I could eat ice cream, I could eat pizza, I could eat, I mean, I don't eat that every meal, but I could have once a day something that other people would be like, oh my God, I can't even look at that because I'm gaining weight, Yeah,
and I think the average person that doesn't work out, they might look at you and say that, like, they don't even want to try to look like you because they think the upkeep is going to be just not fun.
Right. Good term.
It's just not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Congratulations on Hall of Fame.
Thank you.
That's huge.
Thanks.
Awesome.
It was a very surreal time. I never even considered I would be in the Hall of Fame. I just never, So when they called me, it was a very pleasant surprise, and then I realized how cool it actually really was, and more so just because, for 10 years you do that grind, and I just kind of disappeared because I had back surgery and just didn't want to go back to that, and you just kind of think like.
They forgot about you.
Yeah.
I totally understand. And then you get the call.
Yeah, and then it's just like them saying giving you the nod. My dad had passed away like 2 days before the ceremony, and it's so weird. I just saw a video the other day, like, he just didn't want to go to New York. He didn't want to go. And my brother took this video of him and was like, how come you don't want to go see Torrie? And he's like, I don't know, my back hurts, I can't, I might be in the hospital. It was almost like he knew he was dying. It was so weird. But so it made the week a little like weird, but oddly enough, I also felt him like right there with me when I was giving my speech, and it was cool.
What happens, because I think that's a big thing now. I think I struggle with that at times where I'm like, okay, I got to get away from the social media stuff and let the team run it. Because it's just at times, it just clouds my mind. How do you deal with that in social media? Because as we move forward, we have to adapt to how the future is. And now, we needed the magazines back in our day. Mm-hmm. We don't need the magazines. Magazines need us. Because now we've established something, and social media has allowed us to show our personalities, our physiques, whatever we're doing. And so it's an interesting thing that we're the magazines of today. But yeah. it gets toxic at times. I don't know another word. It just gets annoying at times because everybody's reading it and giving their opinion, and they're not all on the same plane as you are. How do you deal with?
Yeah, I mean, that's the part that trips me up a lot, because even before I post something, I can hear the opposing views, and then I end up not posting it. And the thing about it is that we all can have different views, and we all can have things that we prefer or like or that work for us better. But social media likes to point out the opposite, right? And sometimes it's just not worth it to me. But I also battle because I have to remind myself that there are people out there that really do get a lot from what I post, especially when I'm sharing from the heart and things that I don't want to share with people. I just feel like somebody out there needs to hear it. I know that I'm reaching people and making a difference in their life. And, you know, it's kind of crazy. There are a lot of people in this world that are not around positive influences. And I really think it's important, even if I'm one person in their scroll that gives off something that might help them in their life or their day, or see things differently, to get out of a hump. So that's the battle that I go through too. Like, I mean, I don't even think I've posted in like 3 weeks, but I've just had to take a little bit of a break. And I also feel like it's important to take a little bit of a break, because I don't know about you, but I start feeling like muddled, and I'm like, I don't even know what to post right now. You see so much information everywhere that it gets to be too much overload.
That's when I throw a picture up with the baby. It's like, there, it's gonna stay out for a month.
Well, you guys are doing the baby a very good favor already, starting him off his own page.
Oh yeah,
right?
Oh yeah.
I think that's a great point, because you do when you or whoever's putting up your stuff gets to both sides before you even do it, and then you decide not to do it. And what I think is cool is maybe I'm just that age where I'm mature enough to understand, if I'm following somebody, there's a reason why I'm following it. It's not just that individual, but I know the struggles or the ups and downs of that individual. And going back to our previous talk, we're talking about like the people like Kevin Nash and Bill Goldberg, and who else was there? Scotty and Big Hogan and Ric Flair. You were around some legends that taught you minute things. Shake the hand. But you've lived a life, and so I could see my son following you, not just because of how you look, but because of what you've gone through. And it seems like today society doesn't follow character.
So it's really interesting you say that, because last night I was having dinner with my husband, and, you know, recently we've had some opportunities open. And I have had an opportunity to reach out to people that I've worked with to share this opportunity. And because of my character and who I've been my entire life, as someone that they have seen and worked with for many years, I'm respected. And the phone calls are like that. And I told my husband last night, I said, you know, it's interesting. Right now I feel like me being a good person and the people seeing my character over the years has actually right now put me in a position where people respect me and want to take my phone call and hear about the opportunity that I have for them. And I could list off a list of way more people on this side right now that could have the same opportunity to present to people that would be ignored.
Right.
That's a big thing.
I'm on the same boat. And also going back to social media.
You're exactly on the same boat, I think. Because it's funny, on my page, I have more followers. There's more Titans are on my page or fans.
Right.
But when you look at her page and she puts something up that has nothing to do relevance-wise, like, hey, maybe I'm in a movie or something, that's going to get something. Oh, sheesh, this is a great movie, you got it coming out, great. And she puts up, hey, just me with my son at the park, and then you see these people that I respect all over here just going,
I got good quality of people following me. I don't get a lot of negativity on my page.
But it's the quality. It's the thing is, you guys are talking
Yeah.
about the quantity of people you have. Maybe you don't get the whole world, but that pool of people that you pull from are very respected and successful in what they do. It's the quality of people, not the quantity
exactly.
of
So
people.
100%.
I created, like, even when I worked in New York, like the quality of my friends and the people that I was hanging around with, they're like up here, way up here. I was down here. So I created this like really high, like step up for all around myself. And I never drank. I've never been on drugs. Nobody's ever seeing me on the corner of the streets hanging out, making out with somebody. So I'm always a good example.
You've always
Sorry.
carried yourself up.
And growing up by myself in New York, everybody's like, I'm a good example. Hey, look at Mona, she created all this. She came from Romania, blah, blah, blah. Like, look at her. Like, so I'm really well respected. So I know what you're saying. Like, I could pick up the phone right now and call somebody, like, really up here, and they'll take my phone call. They'll
I think
reply
that's a
to
cool
my
thing with
message.
you women.
And there's times I'm sure there were many times where it would have been easier if you could have taken a route that wouldn't have felt like it was in your character, right?
Oh yeah.
But because you stayed true to yourself. And what's interesting is a lot of people in that position wouldn't want to hang out with those people because they felt inferior.
I've always done things for the people up here. I've always helped. I've never asked for favors either. So if I go to somebody and I say, hey, I need a favor, they know it's serious. They're like, okay, what's going on? Because I never let myself to actually ask for anything. I just figured it out. I'm like, if I need this person, it has to be like something big.
Yes.
I think the main thing, and I guess why I thought of asking it, was because of the fact that you've been in the industry, you were in wrestling and the health and fitness world and television, and you've done so much. But you're somebody that I think the people out there, the young girls and guys, should follow, because you're showing a good example. And I see the other side of it, of the, well, you can go on Instagram, you can see hundreds of girls that you could follow for one reason, but there's not much character there. And I really think it's the character of the individual. Maybe it's just because of my age now or something, but it really is the character. The beauty adds to it.
Yeah.
But the character of the person really makes that something that I think and respect. And I think that's the great thing with you girls, that are, you can stand on your own. You don't need a guy. You create yourself, and you just good characters both.
That's right. I don't need you.
I think that's the biggest.
I know that.
I think that would be the biggest thing that anyone starting out now should focus on, is your character, and not how many followers you can get that fast, and not the quick dollar. Like, it's so easy to want those shiny, fancy things, but in the long run, it's
easy to say that we're here. What was it that you said early on to make you stay on that road? Because they're going to say that. They're going to go, well, you're already there, so that's why you're saying it. But we've all done this from the start. We've all took the slow path and the baby steps.
Yeah.
And that's why we're still here, though.
I mean, I can't say that I've always, like, I did Playboy, right? But, like, even in the WWE...
I think the body is art, so I'm all right with that.
But, I mean, some people might say... But even in the WWE, like, I was in an era that was very raunchy, right? There were things that I had to say no to. They wanted me to paint, like what Sable did, paint my boobs and walk out there naked. And I said no. Like, there are certain things that I turned down that maybe I could have gotten ahead with, but it just didn't feel right.
You didn't feel comfortable at that time.
Yeah.
But that's fine, because I feel like sometimes some of those calls that you make for yourself, it's probably the right call.
Thank good.
You
Yeah,
know?
thank God.
You just don't know. It's like, listen, I got offers. Hey, can you just go to the airport and pick this up and I'll give you $3,000? I'm like, what's in there? Why am I picking this up? Like,
Yeah.
no, I'm good. I'm okay with the $2 tab.
But there are a lot of people that would.
Yeah,
they
they'll go
need
like,
the money.
hey, what's wrong with you? Just go pick. I'm like, no, this is so, everything happens for a reason. Kind
Yeah.
of, so.
I mean, girls are making 500 G's a month on OnlyFans right now.
They're buying homes off of OnlyFans.
I heard about that. It's been going on for a while.
I mean, it's amazing.
You're talking
I
about
wish
that
I was in a place that I could do that, but I couldn't.
Yeah.
But I guess that's an interesting question, because we're so removed from how they're making their money now at 20 years old. And so you came out in a bikini and wrestled and stuff like that, and so back then that was normal. This is normal.
So
now.
maybe that's
That's the bikini. Maybe this is without the bikini. I'm guessing. I don't know. You're buying a house though.
It might be without the bikini.
I guess you would say if you can do it and you're comfortable and you're not losing your soul over
That's
it.
what it's about. And it's all different for all of us.
Yeah.
Because, I know girls that are on OnlyFans making a lot of money and they feel good with it. And that's totally great. There's no dissing. It's just you got to stay true to
What you can look back in 10 years and go, that wasn't a good call, or I'm fine with it. I'm good with those images. You're incredible.
Thanks.
You're incredible.
So
It's
guys.
been great. I know Mona set this one up, and I was like, oh, awesome, because I've known you for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved seeing that the start of that whole process, like with Trish Stratus and with you and all that stuff, and the people that you've been around. Those are just my guys
Yeah.
in the health
they're
and
awesome.
fitness. Holy cow! We're going to do a lot more lives. Yes.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I would love to have you on here in the next couple of weeks, and we could sit down and go live wherever you're at and wherever I'm at, and talk to them and let them ask you questions, from cooking to any kind of special foods, because I know that a lot of the tight crew members love little fun foods that you can make taste something. Can you make fish taste good? Can you make chicken taste good?
Got it.
Those kind of extremes.
Okay, I love it. Yeah, let's do it.
I love it.
We could do so much, but thank you.
Thank you guys.
You are amazing.
You too.
Yeah, I was
Thank
just so
you.
looking forward to have you here today.
Yeah.
All right, well, guess what, guys? This story inspired me. And I tell you what, it doesn't matter where you come from. She came from a small town, and now she's a Hall of Famer at WWE. So it doesn't matter where you come from, like I said, guys. If you have the guts, if you take a chance in life, guess what? You'll make it. So I hope that this inspired all the women out there. And I tell you what, keep watching this show, because we are going to bring you guys more superstars here, I promise.